Hi, you guys. I'm hopping on here really fast for those of you who might need a very quick recap or run through reminder for factoring. So this is the worksheet you should have to work on at home. This will be due. I'd like you guys to submit this electronically. So before I jump in, I do want to clarify, we've got two separate types of quadratics to factor here. We've got these where the a value is 1, and then these 4 problems down here where the a value is greater than 1. So let me just clarify what that a value even means. So this general form of, or standard form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. So the a value is just that coefficient of the x squared term. So when there's no number in front of the x squared term, that means the a value is 1. Technically, the coefficient is 1. Those are a little bit simpler to factor. And then you have where that a value is not 1, we see a new strategy is needed. So I'm going to quickly review 2 examples with you, one where the a value is 1 and one where the a value is not 1. So the first example, and if you're watching this because you need the reminder, I would get out a sheet of paper, pause the video, and work through this with me. So let me give you my first example, x squared minus 3x minus 18. So the strategy you've seen me do several times, you referred to as the diamond game. So we make this x kind of, and I put numbers in here. So I'm putting my value of c. Remember, I'm just going to jot this down. Ax squared plus bx plus c. So a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is the constant. So c goes up here, and b, -3, will go down here. And then I'm looking for the two numbers that both multiply to -18 but add to -3. So those two numbers that multiply to 18, I'm thinking of 18 and 1, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. So the combination that's going to multiply to -18 and add to -3 is 6 and 3, and then you just need to figure out which one's positive and which one's negative. To multiply to -18, one of them has to be negative. Since I want them to add up to -3, that means the 6 is going to need to be the negative value. When I multiply that by +3, I get -18, but they add up to -3. Once you have these two values, these are the two numbers that you're adding to x in your actual factors. So if I'm factoring this factors to x minus 6 times x plus 3. That's it. So we're done with that. This is the process you'll always use if your quadratic is factorable when the coefficient of x squared is 1. So it's a pretty simple process, should not be anything new. Let's look at one where the coefficient is not 1. And this is where some people, I think, just need reminded. So that's why this video is here, just for a quick reminder. So we do just a recap on what factoring is. It's taking a sum of values and rewriting it as a product of two things. So a bunch of stuff added or subtracted together. We can rethink that as two things times each other. And then with where the area models come in here in a couple minutes, we think of this product as a length times a width, and that's why we relate it to area models. This process starts the same. So we are going to still start with a diamond game, except this top diamond here, instead of just putting this last number up there like we did when the coefficient of x squared was 1, I'm actually putting the product of a times c, so that's -30. So a times c goes up here. And then b goes down here just like it did in the first example. So -3 went down there. In this case, 13 will go down here. So I start with -30 in the top and 13 at the bottom. Now I'm going to repeat that same process of thought. What two numbers multiply to -30 and add to +13? You really need to slow down with these, because when we look at 30 and 13, our brains are going to jump to 10 times 3, because 10 times 3 is 30 and they add up to 13. But 10 times 3 is not -30. So that combination isn't going to work for this one. So we have to think about other combinations of numbers that multiply to -30 but add to +13. Those two numbers involve 15 and 2. So 15 times 2 is 30. And if I want that to multiply to equal negative 30, it would actually be 15 and negative 2, or it could be negative 15 and positive 2. But since I want them to add to positive 13, the 15 needs to be the positive one. Once I've identified these two numbers, these are not the numbers I'm subtracting from x to get my factors like we did up here. Instead, this is going to help me form an area model that's going to represent all of these terms of my original quadratic. And I'm going to fill in these boxes with all of those terms, except this 13x is, I'm breaking down into 15x minus 2x. That's where these two numbers come in play. So 15 and negative 2, that's how I'm breaking apart my 13x. I'm actually going to rewrite it as 15x minus 2x when I fill in this area model. So my a value, this leading one here, I put in my bottom left corner. The c term I put up here in the top right. And then these two remaining catty corner squares, I'm putting 15x minus 2x. And that is where the diamond game comes into play. 15x minus 2x. So this whole sum of all these individual parts adds up to 3x squared plus 13x minus 10. Now I just want to represent all of these things as a length times a width. So I just use my area model to determine the length times width. Since this is 3x squared, I know one side has to have x and the other one has to have x. And then I have to decide, where does the 3 go? Since this box right here has 15x, this bottom piece needs to have that 3, because if I put the 3 over here, I can't multiply 3 by another integer to get negative 2. So that's not helpful. So you kind of have to choose strategically where to put the 3. And then 3x times what is 15? That's a 5. And then x times what is negative 2x? Negative 2. So now I have my length times my width, and those two things are how the quadratic factors. So x plus 5 times 3x minus 2. So this is the process you will follow when your a value or the term, the coefficient in front of x squared is not 1. You guys have seen this before. I know I walked through that pretty quickly. I just wanted a quick, brief video in case you needed a reminder. So you should be good to go on this worksheet, especially these four at the bottom that involve a values greater than 1. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.